Hello there, I was just listening to an orchestra play the musical score from the movie Conan the Barbarian, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And now what I have to do is a rundown of the best and worst movies of 2024, or more accurately, the best and worst of what I watched in 2024. I've really struggled with this list of the best and the worst because from the films I've watched in the last year, I'm not sure there are enough things I liked to do a top 5, and there were so many I disliked that it was hard to whittle them down to just 5. With no further ado, at number 5, Rebel Moon Part 2. It was shockingly poorly written, with barely fleshed out characters and a story copied from other things. It borrowed heavily from Star Wars, which if the reporting is correct, the script actually started life as an attempted Star Wars script that was rejected. It also borrowed heavily from The Seven Samurai, with the slight issue that The Seven Samurai involved bandits raiding a village, and in Rebel Moon, it's a galactic empire and a space fleet that for some unknown reason still just really wants to raid and steal grain from this one village on one planet. It was awful. At number 4, Lord of the Rings of Power. I've reviewed every episode of this show and it continues to be a farcical insult to the work of Tolkien. They turned the Dark Lord Sauron into a splat of black ooze. They turned the Lady Galadriel into a warrior girl boss, and they turned every character into a moron. Very little anyone says or does in this show makes any kind of sense, and they capped it off by having a character be resurrected off camera. Awful. At number 3, the 2024 remake of The Crow. And is it a remake of The Crow? Because they could have fooled me with this film. The 1994 film, granted, it took some liberties with the source material, which was a graphic novel, but it had a standout performance from Brandon Lee and a great soundtrack. But this version, out of maybe 20 characters in the original story, this 2024 version had, well, none of them. There's no Tintin in the story, no Top Dollar, no Fun Boy, no T-Bird. The 2024 version had 2 characters in it that shared names with characters from the original graphic novel, and that's it. Because the 2 characters that they kept, they rewrote as being very different characters anyway. Eric and Shelley are still in this version, with just the slight change that in the original story, Shelley wasn't even alive. As proof here on the IMDb pages, note the characters from the 1994 version that are not in this 2024 version. So, what was a story about a man coming back to life to take revenge on the criminals that ended the lives of him and his wife, destroying a sweet love story? Now, a good part of the film is a grubby romance of 2 escaped mental patients being stalked by a man who sold his soul to a demon. It may be the single worst adaptation I've ever seen of a thing. And as well as losing the original story and all of the characters, it also lost the powerful emotional core of the original story. Number 2, Star Wars The Acolyte. I still have no idea if this will ever get a season 2, because everyone thinks this show has been canned already, but Disney seem to be saying nothing. I even contacted Disney personally myself, twice, asking them for confirmation either way about the fate of this series, and they never replied. This series has really good CGI, it's helmed by 2 twin sisters, both played by Amanda Stenberg, and frankly neither of them can act. Because whatever emotion she's supposed to portray in a scene, her face seems to remain defiantly unaltered, and characters just forget core motivations in between scenes. For example, in one sequence, one of the twins, May, has decided to hand herself over to the Jedi who are trying to arrest her. She then meets a Jedi, so what do you expect her to do? Surrender? No, of course she tries to stab them, and this happens multiple times an episode. I'm still kind of hoping for a season 2 because it was just such good material for YouTube videos. At number 1, Madam Web. Madam Web was a movie so bad that the female lead in the movie, Dakota Johnson, struggled to even pretend the movie was watchable while on the press tour for it. Even the star of the film looked like she wanted to apologise for it, and when you watch it, it's quite easy to understand why. It's presented like a superhero film, but it contains almost no heroism or action scenes. It mostly involves characters running away from the bad guy or running him over with vehicles. Some of the dialogue is so bad that it became instant memes. It somehow even managed to make Sydney Sweeney look dowdy, and what is this film? Is it a failed action movie or a somewhat successful, if entirely unintentional comedy?
He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
If you only knew the power of one, the power of two, the power of many.